Data!
Chew!
What are you doing?
Sneezing.
Have you got a cold?
A cold what?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory, and we're going on a journey through Star Trek The Next Generation, episode by episode. Today, we're talking about episode 13 of season 1, called Datalore. One of my favorites of the first season, admittedly. Air date, January 16th, 1988. And we'll start, as always, with a recap from Dory.
Okay, so we start off. We're going to Data's home planet. Cut to Data sneezing. I say sneezing in quotes. What a wild... I had to pause for a second because I was like, what the fuck?
It wasn't even well done.
It was so bizarre. What a weird choice.
Like, not even in a, like, oh, well, Data's obviously not getting it level, but more of a, like, why is this scene existing?
Yeah, what a wild concept. It was just so bizarre. Okay, so anyways... So they finally, it's Data's attempt to be more human, which, like, why? Anyways, they get to the planet. Riker does a monologue about how everything's dead on the planet before they even arrive on the planet. So, like, choices. They look around, and apparently there was, like, a group of people who lived there, and Data was found there 26 years ago on, like, a slab of rock just outside under some dust. Geordi figures out that this cave thing is, like, not real and finds, like, a hidden button, and we go into a hallway. That hallway was sick. That was a cool looking hallway. And I also liked the, like, grating at the top.
Oh, yeah.
High fives all around. I just thought very dramatic, very cool. Okay. So they open a lab, the most dramatic lab music possible. So we know this is a big deal. So they're looking around and Data finds the scariest mold of all time, his own face. And we learn that there was this, like, Dr. Soong, who was a famous Earth scientist who had this idea about some brain thing, and everybody thought he was crazy. So then they find all these, like, parts of like, what looks to be Data. Although, did you guys notice there was just an ass?
Yes.
There was, like, ass.
Oh, did I ever notice that ass? It was fantastic.
I wrote in my notes, that ass, in capital letters.
Too bad the ass was shiny.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Well, I mean, he is fully functional.
Completely.
I don't know who put together the prop of Lore, but it's not very convincing.
It's
No.
The skin was too shiny. Even, like, the head would have looked good if it was more matte.
Yes.
When Data's holding the head, it looked it was like a good resemblance,
like,
but it
just put some
like,
foundation on it and you're good.
Yeah, it's too dewy right now. Okay, so they bring the pieces back up to the ship, and the engineers are looking over it because they want to put them together. So Data tells Dr. Crusher, this is like this point in my lower back. That's, like, the spot to turn me on, turn me off, and set my stove temperature or whatever. His time, alarm, whatever.
An Android alarm clock. Was that amusing?
Yes. Yeah, but he's like, don't tell anybody. And they do it in front of all the engineers.
Yes.
So, like, you guys, secret does not appear to be a thing with you guys.
I mean, they're whispering.
Yeah, but they're also still in a room with a bunch of engineers.
Yeah.
So it's not as subtle as they think they are. So then they put the guy together. He wakes up. We learn second Data is named Lore. And initially I was like, oh, are they going to be like a switcheroo right off the bat with them arguing who the real Data is? And they didn't, but Lore just woke up, was automatically the creepiest motherfucker I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh yeah, so it's kind of fun. The whole episode, they're like, Data, you're still really on our side, though, right? You're just like, you're going to be loyal to us and not Lore. And every single time, Data's like, yeah.
Yeah, of
I
course.
don't have, like, I don't have any, like, emotional attachment to Lore. No, I'm a Starfleet. Like, you would think by this point that they know that, like, Data is, like, a Starfleet guy through and through. He's not just going to be like, well, this guy looks the same as me. So, and I've known him for 20 minutes. I think we're on the same side.
They don't even know Lore's evil yet.
Oh, yeah. So, like, Lore is out of his damn mind. He's like, I'm superhuman and that I'm, like, perfect and you're the, like, less perfect version. And everybody was so jealous of how perfect I was. So I had to, like, get this crystal to, like, kill everybody. No big deal. So, there's even a part where, like, Lore is telling Data all of, like, his, like, all this stuff. And he's standing in front of a mirror. And I was like, wow. That's not even the tiniest bit subtle. We get it. He's two-faced. We get it. I was like, that is also a massive mirror. So it wasn't even like the subtlety is not there.
Yeah, they make it obvious that they make it obvious that Lore is evil immediately.
Yeah, way too
they
obvious.
They don't pull any punches.
We also know he does the most evil thing possible. Uses contractions. He uses can't and isn't instead of cannot and is not. Definite symbol of evil.
It's dastardly.
So Lore drugs Data and assumes his role kind of even more creepily. I will say, I do like Lore's jumpsuit.
Yeah.
That was a cool look.
I actually do really like that jumpsuit. It looks really comfortable.
Yeah, I don't like the black shirt underneath, but just like the jumpsuit itself, it looks nice.
I like the whole deal.
I just don't like the mustard color.
That's my favorite part about it, to be honest.
Yeah, the color's not bad. I don't think the color does much for like the actor, but like in general, I love a good mustard.
Okay, that's fair.
Yellow. Okay, so Wesley then, of course, needs to, like, speak up, even though Wesley's, like, initially, oh, you're not the bad guy. You're not Lore because you used weave or something. And, he gets, like, scolded or something. And Wesley leaves the room and the camera follows him on the bridge to the elevator, and then there's a shot they focus in on this really hot guy on the bridge that we've never seen before. And I was like, who is this guy? What's up? And the guy just smiles, and I was like, oh my god, where has this guy been this whole series? He's so cute. Yeah, so Data. There's this whole thing about the facial tic, and Lore makes such a weird big deal about it. So the crystal shows up. There's like a crystal chase, and Wes is really suspicious. Everybody tells him to shut up, which truly highlight of the episode. Just everybody, Picard doing his super dramatic, shut up, Wesley. And then he's like, what? And then, oh my God. And then Dr. Crusher's sitting right there. And I was like, oh, burn. His mom's right there. And then she's like, shut up, Wesley. And I was like, yeah.
That whole thing is a meme.
Oh, I will say, okay, the thing that hurt me the most is when Laura kicked Data in the head. Yeah. I was like, how dare you? How dare you? So, yeah, Lore has everybody thinking he's Data except for, I guess, Wesley. So the jig is up when he doesn't understand what make it so is. And I guess that's when everybody tells Wesley to shut the fuck up. Okay. And then, so Worf fights with Lore in the elevator. The Crushers wake up Data. And then they go into the transporter room because they're going to send like a tree to the crystal for reasons. And Data and Lore get into a fight, and Data throws Lore into the transporter thing, and he gets, like, transported to the crystal, gone for good. The day is saved. Oh, yeah, and Dr. C's arm gets caught on fire.
Yeah, that was a weird decision.
Yeah, she runs out with the jacket on, her arm's fully on fire, and then she comes back in, no jacket, and you can see her, like, shirt, her uniform is all singed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting episode. It was pretty good. His name is Brent Spiner.
Brent Spiner,
Yeah.
yes.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's
Oh, yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Especially when he's acting with himself in the same scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty seamless. I thought it looked really good.
Yeah, because that split screen when they're walking down the hall is great.
And I legitimately, every time I watch this episode, I forget that it's one actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he did such a good job of doing like Lore's personality, how it like there were similarities to Data, but also like really distinct differences.
Yeah.
And also even when he was like Lore pretending to be Data, there was still like a tiny bit of things that were just like off.
Yeah.
Yes.
That I think he was so good.
Now, I think it's important to note about this episode that the dialogue can be a little awkward sometimes, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that the episode actually went through a lot of changes before they actually went to shooting it. Like, this thing got several rewrites, and the original concept was nothing like the final product. Originally, they didn't have an evil twin story at all. They had a female android love interest for Data.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is absolutely not what happened, as you can tell. In fact, it was Brent Spiner who proposed the idea of doing an evil twin story, and they liked the idea when he convinced them that as an actor he could pull it off no problem. And they had an extra day of shooting it, which is nice because it allowed Brent Spiner to really like come into the role real well.
It was well done. It was a good
Yeah.
suggestion.
Yes.
I mean, he
Yeah.
does pull it off really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Plus, they don't need to do like a android love interest. We know he can get human girls, right, Yar?
Yeah.
Bow chicka, bow wow.
I actually have no questions because like it kind of seemed like the pieces of Data, like when they were all separated, that it was like Ken doll style.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what the fuck did he do with Yar?
Also, we had no Troy this episode.
Back in the 7th. Oh my god, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, we did get the return of a different character, though. Chief Engineer Argyle!
Yay.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the first chief engineer to appear on screen more than once.
Well, he's already been in a couple episodes.
He was in one episode for sure, and then mentioned in another, and he like spoke off screen. But now we actually get to see him again.
No, he was definitely on screen for more than one episode before this.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, he's the only reoccurring one at this point in time.
Yeah.
So good for you, Argyle. You're here to stay.
Welcome back.
I love when they're down on the planet and there's all these children's drawings of like obviously some kind of devastating disaster.
Yes.
And Riker's like, hung up by proud parents maybe?
I would like to, I do have one little bit of a question about the episode, actually, and I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but as they're going through that beginning part, there seems to be a lack of consensus on whether they knew what was going on the planet or whether they didn't, because they were like, oh, well, we've arrived here and nothing is alive. You know, we're picking up soil, there's nothing alive in the soil, all the trees are dead, what's going on? And I'm like, wait a minute. From what Data describes, all of that happened before he was picked up. So
nope.
what did... Well, no, that's the weird thing, because there was nobody around when he was picked up.
Yeah, but the planet wasn't dead. There was still, like, farms and shit around.
But the reason that everyone's gone is because they were killed. So
Yeah.
why did they find Data without anyone around?
Well, maybe they gave the bodies to the crystal. That's why there's no more people.
Well, no, but I mean, like, the crystal already consumed everyone.
Yeah.
Or killed everyone, whatever it does. And, okay, fine. But that means that the planet should have already been dead when they arrived.
No, because I
how
think...
many years prior? Like, how long before that happened?
Yeah, I think Data was found not too long after the initial disaster, and then over time the crystalline entity sucked up all the other life.
Okay, that's possible. They didn't make it explicitly clear, though, and it's kind of weird, because it seems like the planet being eliminated and the people being eliminated would be the same thing.
I guess. I mean, I was not confused.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it's just like, I assume they found Data when they were investigating what happened at the colony, No one else was there, but they found Data. And now they're back, and it's even more fucked up than they left it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, to me, I didn't really have much confusion over that aspect of it. I don't know, did you
No, I found it, I thought it made sense. I just sort of assumed, like, in the sort of timeline style, like, the crystal started, like, taking people, whatever, taking their life, and then that's when whoever, like, maybe some of the last people, that's when they did their, like, SOS whatever to Starfleet, which is why they ended up there, but then by the time they got there, everybody's was taken.
Right.
Okay.
So, like, Data's just hanging out.
It's also not entirely consistent with how they show the crystal later on in the series, but won't get into that.
I mean, they haven't decided that yet.
Very true.
This show has, like, a tendency to, like, make some kind of, like, thing that's interesting shapes that just floats, that doesn't talk, that just, like, absorbs stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
They love that. And this was pretty. I mean, I think Jordy said it's like a really interesting, like, snowflake or something.
Yeah, one of the first instances of CGI on the show, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Were the space jellyfish not CGI?
No, they were props.
Oh, the space jellyfish.
I mean, in the remaster, a lot of those things are redone, so it's difficult to tell now because the effects have all been cleaned up quite well.
Oh, yeah.
But no, the original space jellyfish were props.
I love how Data corrects... Data basically gives Picard the proper pronouns for Lore.
Oh, yeah, their pronouns were on
yeah.
point this episode.
Well, because they keep calling Lore it, and then Data's like, that's not his pronouns. It's he.
Clearly ahead of its time.
It implies that it's a thing.
Doesn't that make me an it?
I love how awkward everyone is with asking Data questions and stuff.
Yes, because they feel awkward about it, but they don't realize Data doesn't really feel awkward about it.
Yeah. And, like, the one thing I never got about this episode is why they're so distrustful of, like, why they question Data's loyalty off the bat.
Okay, so...
What reason do they have... Sorry, but, like, what reason do they have to think that this android will be evil?
So that's where I think it kind of plays into the fact that the episode went through a lot of rewrites, so some things about it aren't clear. The episode is technically very impressive, and the acting is great, but the actual writing has problems in it, I noticed. It's just that those problems are so often overshadowed by the fact that it's such a joy to watch Brent Spiner acting with himself. And the fact that Lore is such a, like, textbook evil villain to the point where he's literally, like, smirking and monologuing. It's so entertaining that you almost don't notice those things as you're going through it the first time.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of plot issues in the episode, things that don't entirely add up, and that is definitely one of them. Like, they really have no reason to distrust Data. He's spent, at that point, 15 years going through the Academy and Starfleet. Why would he suddenly... change allegiance. Also, why the hell were they teaching Lore how to fly the ship?
Yeah, it's weird. I always question that. But rewatching it, it seemed like... So it's implied that Lore was playing dumb. So he might have just been oh, how does this work? And then they show him.
Yes, but why, like, sit him down at a console... like, teach him the details of how to do it. Like, this is the first scene that we've had of Lore outside of sickbay.
Yeah.
It's a really terrible introduction to him.
Yeah, it's really weird. I'm like, why are they letting this stranger just on the bridge doing stuff?
I mean, they let a child on the bridge.
Yeah, but remember how much of a stink they brought up about that the first time that he came onto the bridge? Where he was, like, staying on the elevator, and he's like, I'm not technically on the bridge, sir. I'm still in the turbo lift.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they need to, like, change their security protocols or, like, vet people before they come on the bridge, because this feels like a billion bad things waiting to happen.
What the fuck?
They're like they don't trust Data at that moment, but let's let his doppelganger, his twin, play around, fuck with our computers. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
They're so worried about Data's, like, allegiance. They're like, hey, guy we're even more concerned about. Come play with the shit that controls our ship.
Yeah. Like, Data is far more cautious with Lore than the rest of the crew.
And even he's not entirely cautious with him, because there are so many points in the next scene when they go over to, when they're walking through the hallway and they go into Data's quarters, where he's just giving off not even evil vibes. He's basically just saying, I have evil ambitions. Like, he might as well just flat out say, I'm your evil twin. Because that's what the lines are saying. And Data's still like, yeah, totally, use this computer to take up as much information as you want. And then the evil, like, music cue immediately following that, as he's just reading info on the computer, is like a supervillain quite literally, like, dropping the heroes into a vat of acid. It's that extreme of a music cue.
Yeah, the music in this episode is as subtle as a nuke. Like,
I do really like the music in this episode, but it is not subtle at all.
Yeah,
it is drama. The dramatics are there. Mm-hmm. Also, you know that Laura is evil pretty early on when he does that tomato potato dance.
Oh yeah,
that was terrifying.
Yeah,
that song and dance.
You say tomato and I say tomato. You say potato and I say potato.
Call 911. This is bad.
A very old joke. No, it isn't. It's a song. It's not a joke.
I don't think Lore quite grasps what a joke is.
Yeah, either.
No, clearly not. I don't think the writers quite grasp what a joke is.
I mean, you're right. You're correct on that.
An Android alarm clock. Was that amusing?
It's not amusing because you haven't explained what it is yet.
Yeah.
If he was like, it measures how long I was off, and then he's like, an Android alarm clock, maybe then it would be a little amusing.
Mm-hmm. Another major problem that I had with it plot-wise was the Lore poisons Data scene.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many ways that you could have done that better, and they chose poison.
Yeah.
Like, what a terrible decision.
They also use it in the form of a wonderful drink. How dare they take champagne and roofie Data with champagne?
Well, champagne
like
sucks.
That's squeeze me. I love champagne.
You've heard my opinion, and you have no choice but to accept it.
Fine, I accept it, but I disagree. I love champagne.
Fine. We'll fight to the death over it. I see how it is.
Oh God, that reminds me. I fucking love when Lore's pretending to be Data, and he goes back to his room with Riker and Wesley, and he's like, Data dressed as Lore is passed out on the ground, and he starts like just flicking Data's on and off switch over and over, and he's like he's sensing you. You must leave.
And like he's not even. It quite literally looks like he's like holding a puppet.
Yeah, it's so bad, and then like. You're thinking in your head like, oh God, this is so terrible. They're so stupid. And then Lore just straight up says, it's like, he talks to Data's unconscious body and he's like...
He monologues.
Yeah, and he's like, you want to be as stupid as they are? I'm like, I'm glad someone in this episode acknowledged it.
It's almost like Lore is the audience in that moment.
Yeah.
I actually, for a second, when he was like, playing around in Data's back, I was like, is he gonna turn on that timer thing, the alarm? Accidentally turns on his alarm.
Yeah, I don't know why they bothered to point out that with the Android alarm clock joke, that it's about turning him off for a certain period of time, when they never use that. It's just an on and off switch the way that they treat it.
It's not even like, it's not a timer even. He just says it's a, like, that bit of his hardware measures how long he's out for while he's off.
Oh, I thought they said it was like a timer, but okay.
No, he just
calls it an alarm clock.
Yeah, and then he says like it measures how long I've been off.
Okay.
Also, how did Lore know there was the switch back there? Because
he has one too.
But would you like actively know that though? If you haven't,
would you know that about yourself? Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a beauty mark on my back that I didn't know about until a few years ago.
Lore did live among the colonists, and
that's true.
And he was first, so he's had time to figure this out.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. So then, like in the end, that like barely all it does is us knowing about that spot is like so Crusher can press it later to like wake Data back up.
Yeah, it was a plot device. You're gonna love how many times they don't use that in the series.
Yeah.
When they should have.
Although they do acknowledge it in other episodes.
Yeah, once or twice.
Yeah.
That is true. But yeah, it's God, the way that Laura is evil is so entertaining, but also so blatantly obvious. Like there's that point when the crystal entity appears on their view screen, and he's just like, "Beautiful, isn't it?"
And then he's like, "I can talk to it,"
Yeah.
And then like evilly smirks to himself. And like at that point, that is when Wesley should have stood up at that exact second and said, "Sir, he's lore. Data physically can't do that. That's lore."
Yeah, because, like, he says, like, I don't think you should allow him to roam free on the ship. But he never says why. He never says, I think that this is lore impersonating Data.
Wesley, use your words.
Yeah. And this is, like, the Shut Up Wesley in this episode is, like, pretty famous.
I love it.
But it's the one time it's not justified.
Yeah. The thing is, though, I do love it, but it's hard to just because I know how many people harass Will Wheaton with that.
Yes, very true.
Okay,
Yeah.
that does suck.
Yeah, that's why it's hard to just knowing how awful people have been to him over the years. Sometimes it's hard to enjoy when Wesley gets dunked on.
Yes.
Because I just know people have like used that to harass the actual actor.
Mm-hmm. Are we becoming a Will Wheaton fan podcast?
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Mr. Wheaton, if you're listening, please tweet at me.
We like Wesley. I like Wesley a lot.
Yeah, I don't hate Wesley.
He grew
at
on
all.
me. I think he's fun. He's got his fun sweaters, although he needs to switch it up. We've seen the same two-toned sweater with the three stripes run on the chest. Like this is he was wearing it last episode too. Wesley, we need to switch it up. I better see, and I want to see a different sweater next episode.
Unfortunately, I think he sticks to this one for quite a while.
Oh God.
Yeah, I know.
Switch it up, Wes. Even bring back that orange one. No, I want something different.
The chaos that is that orange sweater.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And it's the perfect time right now. Everybody should get a warm knit sweater.
Yeah.
For the cold weather. I say that when it's like 16 degrees in November right now.
Yeah, after being like frickin' 3 degrees.
Yeah. Oh, stupid Canada weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad. I mean, as much as I would love that's the thing. I would never want to yell "Shut up, Wesley" at someone who played the part. I'd love to yell "Shut up, Wesley" to other people, but not to him. That just feels mean.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Unfortunately, because sometimes people make like, how there's like the parasocial relationships online, and sometimes people they try to do that like friendly ribbing with like online personalities.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is like you're strangers, so that just comes off mean.
Yeah.
So I could see some people probably do that, but a lot, if not most people, used it to be legitimately mean to him. Or to dismiss anything he says. Because he is, like, politically active, too. So when he says something, people are just like, "Shut up, Wesley." It's like,
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's a little bit funny, but that's mean.
Yeah.
I think I love the line so much.
It is good. It's really good. Especially, I love later because Beverly says it, too. Yeah. And then later when they're checking up on Data... And she's like trying to get Data back online, and then Wesley's just like, "Well, maybe I should just shut up."
Yeah.
She's like, "That's not fair." I'm like, "That's perfectly fair."
Maybe you should tell me to shut up again, Mom.
Yeah, Beverly, like Dr. Crusher says, like that's not fair, and I'm like, "No, that's perfectly fair."
Yeah.
That is perfectly fair because
he
no
is
one
very justified.
Yeah, no one gives Wesley a chance to explain what his concerns are.
And he did make a good point when he said that the adult officers, like, if they had made this point, you would have listened to them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely wouldn't have done it in that way, though. They wouldn't have just stood up and said, I don't want him, like...
I don't want that. around me.
Yeah, that's something they had in this episode where everybody kept asking about like loyalties in front of everyone, because even Yar was like, is this a security threat or whatever?
Yeah, that was
and
a
everybody's
weird
like, everybody turns like and looks dramatically, like Wesley and Geordie, and everybody's like, gasp. And like, shouldn't you just ask that to them on the side? Don't announce it or ask in front of everybody. Just,
Right.
Do people understand what one-on-ones are?
I don't understand why the concern is data. The concern should be lore. You should be...
And it almost never is.
Yeah, the question should be, hey, how well can we trust this other android considering we don't know anything about him?
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's like, hey, you know this dude we've known like a really long time and we know is loyal? Do you think he's gonna still be loyal to us?
I feel like they also should have done, like, somebody should have subtly, like, if Wesley was having suspicions, I think they should have done something subtle that only, like, they knew that Data would be able to answer. Like, something about his, like, Sherlock Holmes obsession and just some certain things just to, like, because this guy wouldn't be sharing Data's memories. So he wouldn't know, like, that he likes Sherlock Holmes or whatever.
Yeah, that would have been a much more interesting way to do it.
Just to test him, because if he just sort of blows off Sherlock, that's not Data. I also
that's a good test.
I also selfishly was hoping, like, Wesley came up a lot, I guess, in conversation with Lore, that I was sort of hoping he would refer to him as the boy. But nope, he got referred to him as anything but the boy.
Yeah, he calls him little man.
He calls this marvelous gift, this troublesome little man-child. And then he goes, "Are you prepared for the kind of death you've earned, little man?"
Yeah, that's like, my favorite line in the episode.
Whoa.
That is a good line.
Yeah.
That is intense. But yeah, he didn't call him the boy.
Yeah.
That's disappointing. He's a stranger, so why didn't they call him the boy?
Yeah, there's such good opportunities to call him the boy this episode as well.
There will be no boy tracker segment this episode.
You know what really bothered me about this episode?
What?
And, like, this is such a nitpicky thing, but I think it's justified in this case, is the very last line Data has a contraction in it.
Yes.
He says, "I'm fine." And it's literally the one episode where you are paying attention to whether Data uses a contraction or not.
And then he does the fake nervous tick afterwards, and it's like, okay, I get that's probably supposed to be like just kind of like a joke to end the episode with, but that's pretty suspect, guys.
Yeah. It makes it look like it's supposed to imply that he's lore.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's just a fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting decision because, like, this is the same Data that we're going to have next episode and so on and so forth. And are we supposed to...
Or is it the same lore?
You know what? What if he just continued on thinking that it's lore for the rest of the series?
I mean, Lore's not dead. They just beamed him into space and then said, well, problem solved.
Well, they say permanently. They said permanently. So I sort of assumed he would be dead.
Beamed him into space permanently?
Yeah.
Well, Wesley says he's gone permanently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, good job to Brent Spiner on that tick. It looks involuntary. Like, it doesn't look like someone acting a tick.
It depends on the scene, I find.
Yeah,
the first time that you see it, it's like, you just did that on purpose and I don't like it.
Yeah, but for the most part, especially the scene where Lore is giving Data the tick.
Yeah, that is incredibly well done.
Yeah, that looks really good.
So I have a question.
I have an answer.
Okay, so Lore's whole thing is like he's very human, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is this being his way of being human, like his way of identifying as like being human is being a murderous prick?
Yeah.
So
he's like, and I'm like the really deadly ambition and stuff. Is that just like humans are evil? Is that what he's sort of getting at or something?
Okay, so this actually goes back to a sci-fi concept that was fairly big in the 1980s, and it was pushed by, a bunch of sci-fi authors and something. It was mentioned by Isaac Asimov, which is probably one of the reasons that it got so big. But it was the idea that superior superior ability breeds superior ambition. And this isn't even the first time that Star Trek has done it. They actually did a very popular film, Wrath of Khan, that specifically focuses on a character where that is his character flaw. And it's something that they will bring up again throughout Star Trek. It's a theme that they like to go back to. But this is one of the times where they make it a little more obvious and they don't really explore it very much. They just kind of say, here's our premise, accept it.
Okay.
So yeah, the superior ability breeds superior ambition thing will come up again in future episodes and future series, and they definitely deal with it as a moral question during those points in time. But this one, they just expect you to accept the premise exactly as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think it's wrong per se, because human beings are, as someone who enjoys true crime, people are terrible.
Yeah.
Yes.
And definitely,
very
like,
true.
the stuff that people do to other people is truly alarming and upsetting.
Yeah, because it truly is, like, Data is supposed to represent, like, represent and explore kind of the most admirable qualities of humans. You know, just being curious and kind and wanting to learn and all that stuff. And, like, we get kind of a view of humanity through this lens of someone who doesn't understand, you know. We can kind of look at ourselves through looking at the view of us through someone else's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, and it's pretty obvious Lore is supposed to come in and represent, like, the worst qualities of humans.
Yeah, definitely.
The ambition, the malicious intent, you know, all that stuff.
And, like, I don't even necessarily disagree with his very not explored at all motivation, which is he's not just being evil for the sake of it. He's evil because he wants all of these people's knowledge and memory. Mm-hmm. He wants, like, he wants knowledge and power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it is a motivation. It's not just, I'm going to kill these people because.
Yeah.
He's like Brainiac. He just wants all the knowledge.
Yeah.
Oh, I did remember one other part that really stood out to me. So once I think, like, Wesley suspects that Lore is pretending to be Data, and he's in the elevator, and then the elevator doors open, and Worf and two guys are coming closer, and then Worf steps in, and then Lore goes, emergency close, and Worf's like, the fuck? And then Lore goes, now show me your warrior fierceness. And then they fight in the elevator, Captain America style.
Yeah.
In that one where everybody turned out to be Hydra. I can't remember what it's called.
Hail Hydra.
That one. You ever done that? I went up to a friend once and whispered in their ear when I was saying goodbye, Hail Hydra. And she, like, smacked my arm. She's like, you scared the shit out of me.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
It's a funny thing to say to people when they're not expecting it.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially a whisper when you're saying goodbye. I've done it to, like, 2 other people. I mean.
Oh, that's great.
I actually did it once when, like, a friend of mine was telling me how badly she wanted to do it, but never has the right opportunity. And then, like, a couple hours went by, and this is like, oh, I'm doing this. So when we said goodbye, I whispered it to her, and she was like, how dare you? She was not happy I did her plan.
Stole it.
Amazing.
But yeah, that fight scene in the elevator, I mean, it was short, but my god, Worf gets nailed right in the chest, and that looked really painful.
Oh yeah, he gets nailed.
I mean, I love that,
my
like,
God.
up until this point in the series, Worf purely exists to get his ass kicked.
Oh,
And be told no.
Yeah, just be told no and get his ass handed to him.
boy, poor Worf.
And refer to Wesley, the boy.
Yeah, just call Wesley the boy. This is a great episode.
It is. It's so entertaining.
Brent Spiner definitely carries it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There is one line that, there's a lot of lines that I find weird in this, but there's one that, even watching it again now, I think I pointed this out to you before, Maggie, but I don't understand their choice in this line. But when they're walking down the hallway together, in that amazing split screen shot, and Data tells Lore something about, like, oh, I noticed you, like, don't underestimate Wesley, you know, we find him to be much more than he seems, and Lore's response is, thank you for that information too.
Yeah.
And it's like, who says that? That is not a natural line of dialogue at all.
Well, I don't think it's supposed to be, because I think he's supposed to have that awkward, unnatural speech pattern like Data does.
I kind of feel like that particular line was probably a little more... They didn't refine it very well. They also may have changed Data's lines in the split screen shot because they would have had to shoot it twice.
Yeah, that could be it also. Does anyone have any favorite moments or anything we just haven't gotten to yet?
Right at the beginning, the sneeze thing, Wes is like, what are you doing? And Data's like, sneezing. And then Wes is like, have you got a cold? And then Data goes, a cold what?
Yeah, it's so good.
You will find that there are many rules on starships that that must be learned. That's what Wesley said. And then Lore responds, you're very clever, Wesley.
How is that clever?
I don't know.
Like I said, weird dialogue in this episode, right?
Yeah, I think he was supposed to be mocking Wesley with that. I think that was the intention.
Yes.
Oh, well, still, that was weird.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Another thing I thought was like kind of an interesting choice was that, so Lore calls Dr. How do I pronounce it again? I've already forgotten.
Dr. Crusher?
No. The Soong? Song?
Oh, Soong. Often
Soong.
wrong Soong.
Yeah, I was like, is that supposed to rhyme or something? Because that sucks. That's just a bad nickname.
It's supposed to be a bad rhyme, and that's kind of the point in it. You will hear it again at another point in the series, and it gets kind of explained.
It's bad. It's not a clever or good nickname.
I think what it comes down to is that the spelling of Soong is a little bit weird. Like, it's a very strange name, and I think it's supposed to have come from the fact that people didn't really know how to pronounce it. I definitely thought it was Dr. Song when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I was a kid, so I was dumb. It's spelled knife with an N.
Of course. I did like near the end Data's big burn. He goes, how sad, dear brother, you make me wish I were an only child.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, oh, burn.
Oh, snap, Mr. Data. Oh, snap.
Yeah, that was a pretty intense burn.
Oh, I found so creepy throughout the whole thing is that Lore kept calling Data brother.
Yes.
That just felt really creepy. Every single time it sounded creepy.
I actually had an issue that I forgot to bring up earlier. This is another plot problem that they had. But when Lore's monologuing to himself, and he's talking about the great crystal entity with which I learned to communicate. Do you remember when he's standing on the bridge and they hail the crystal and he just talks
talking
normally?
Yeah.
And it's like, anybody could have done that.
Yeah.
Literally anyone. Just hail it and say, yo, what up?
Yeah. Hey,
Could
Crystal,
you go away,
it's shaking.
please? Thanks.
Yeah, there's definitely... Yeah. Because, they try that before, but it doesn't seem to work with anybody else. So I don't know... I don't know what's so special about him that the crystalline entity answers him.
And they never explain it. There might be some, behind-the-scenes sci-fi explanation that it's like, oh, he's hailing it on a certain frequency or something like that. But when he's on the bridge, he says, just hail it, and I'll talk to it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. But it keeps me up at night.
You thought it was going to be like language, like last episode with the weird, shouting, clearing the throat thing. It's like a different language or something.
But, while on the topic of favorite moments, I actually have two. One of them is substantially more important than the other. So I'll tell you about the less important one first. That fight scene, while it starts off kind of awkward, I don't know whose decision it was, the DP or the director or whoever was storyboarding it or whatever, to come up with that last, like, super tense moment where Data throws Lore onto the pad and they beam him out, like, just as he's firing.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Mwah, I thought that was, like, perfectly shot.
Yeah,
I
that was
loved
really
it.
well done.
Yeah, especially with the sound effect going off, like, just as he's, the transporter starts, and I'm like, ugh, got him! And it actually, like, excited me a little bit. So, that's the less important of the two. The more important favorite moment, and this is definitely something that's very important throughout the series, it's something that you guys should always keep your eyes open for. Remember when they get down to the lab for the first time, and they look around at Dr. Soong's lab, and there's that device in the corner that's just these two tubes with red lasers in it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that tube laser. That tube laser is something that has actually made appearances in, like, I think a dozen different sci-fi shows and movies. The first time anyone saw it was in The Last Starfighter, and it comes up in Star Trek all the time, and every time I see it, I go, science laser tube! Science laser tube!
Yeah, it's kind of like a semi-famous sci-fi prop.
Yes, it is.
Just to have these tubes with these beams of red light going back and forth.
And it was so common in the 90s too. Like it was in the X-Files, it was in the Outer Limits, it was in Alien Nation, it's in everything. I love it.
Don't they make fun of it in Airplane?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, because William Shatner.
I think Airplane 3 specifically.
Oh,
but
okay, yeah.
Or Airplane 3, I think.
Yeah, there's another specifically TNG prop that pops up all the time, and it's some kind of like lampshade, I forget. But
oh yes,
but
I know the one you mean.
A lot, yeah.
The like weird kind of beehive one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that pops up in the background all the time.
If we haven't already seen it, we might be seeing it very soon.
Yeah, we kind of covered everything I wanted to talk about already.
Yeah, same.
I just have one more shout out.
For sure.
Shout out to that guy in the episode who had basically no role but to just stand there at the control panel after they panned along with Wesley, because that
the hot one,
the hot guy it was perfect shot. He just stood there smiling.
Well, Dory, hopefully you two can meet one day. He's about 30 years older than in that shot, but that's fine.
I mean, I wasn't even born yet at that point.
He'll be at the next non-COVID Comic-Con.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well, shout out to that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is, but just shout out to him. It truly made me laugh and like so random, but so enjoyable. So, yeah.
Yeah, so let's get into predictions now. So the next...
Ooh, sorry, by the way, how right was I about this episode?
Yeah,
you were very on point.
I was so right. The evil twin.
You get credit.
Okay, sorry. Yes, next episode.
Should be keeping a tally of that, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I guess we should.
I'm not right that often, but I think this is a win in my book.
Yeah.
So the next episode is called Angel 1, and your little tidbit is that it involves a scantily clad Riker.
Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god. This is really hard to make a prediction on, because these are Angel ones, you said?
Angel 1.
Angel 1. Okay.
I'll give you an extra hint that that's the name of a planet.
Okay. So here's my probably wrong, but this is what I'm going with, because I can't think of anything else at this exact moment in
Good
time.
old often wrong Dory.
See, that in this case, the stick name makes sense. Okay, so if the planet is called Angel 1, okay, so maybe it's like a really pretty, like, if I picture like flowers and like gardeny planet, but it's really hot, so maybe rainforesty. And if Riker's gonna be like half naked, then like maybe it's really hot and they're not supposed, like their uniforms are too hot, so he has to dress down, if you will.
Nice.
To keep cool on this planet. This is probably so far from the truth, but of like what actually happens. But yeah, that's my guess.
I like it.
It's pretty bad.
All right, well, we shall see if you're right on the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.